Recording, let's see, recording. Ah, and we are live. Do you want to do the opening introduction for us for this one, please, bruv?
Yes, I will. Good afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. So it's time for our podcast, The Alien Spaceship, on this rather glorious period of weather, certainly here in England. I am Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
And I'm Emmy Hickins, and he calls me Cuz. Welcome to the Alien Spaceship. So over to you, bruv.
Right, well, firstly, you may notice behind me that there is a football shirt and a football scarf. Hope you can see those. Because
Yes.
tonight it is my team's Crystal Palace. They are playing a European final, the Conference League in Leipzig in Germany,
All right.
where I'm very envious, but our usual group of fans are mainly there, including my son Paul and one of my granddaughters, Kimberly. So, yes, I couldn't make it this time, but I'm very envious, but I will watch it tonight on TNT television. So, come on up the Palace. Okay, Kaz, now I'm going to ask you a few questions today, as I often do, and your answers usually give us a good laugh. No, I don't really mean that. I don't mean that. But you won't have had any warning of these questions.
Right.
So you're going to say the first things, I'm sure, that come into your head, but they
Yeah.
are some of them fairly serious questions, and I'd be interested, along with our viewers and listeners, to know
Right.
what you would say in response. Now, okay, the first question is, well, let me say, talking of football, on Sunday I was at Selhurst Park watching Crystal Palace in the
Right.
last league game of the season playing Arsenal, and it was quite a good game. Arsenal, who were already champions of the league before Sunday, they did
Yeah.
win 2-1, but it was a good afternoon in the sunshine. I mean, it was just glorious hot weather. Fortunately, where we sit is not in the sun, so we were not roasting like other fans in the stadium. But it was a great day. And actually, when it just went through my mind as I was watching these generally very good footballers, Arsenal and Palace,
Yeah.
in the glorious sunshine of an English summer, I sat there and I just thought, isn't this life incredible? You know, to just we sit here and whatever we're doing, we take it all very much for granted, which is not a criticism of ourselves. We have to. We can't go on every day, day in, day out, just thinking, oh, isn't this wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? It's good the more we are positive, but anyway, it just went through my mind. This is quite incredible, sitting in this glorious weather, watching the national game, and those who love football will understand that point. It's great to watch the top players play it. So it just struck me that it's incredible, really. We do take a lot of it for granted. But it's a blessing for us to be here for as long as we're going to be here with these five amazing senses, which in many respects, I mean, they can give us the opposite of pleasure, but many things, most things really in our senses give us oodles of something we call pleasure, satisfaction, just feeling good. To have a feel good situation, a feel good moment is just it just says something about this incredible existence that we have. So with that in mind, my first question to you, Cuz, what would you say is the best thing, or you may say the best things, about being alive?
The best thing about being alive is it's just being able to enjoy life. Um, and enjoying life is relative, and so for some people, it's getting high, and who's to judge? For some people, is have I frozen out?
Yes, you've frozen. Yeah, I can hear you, but you've frozen. Yeah, you're
All
okay
right.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. For some people, is just having a drink. Some people just like to watch their loved ones. You know, progress in life, children, grandchildren. friends. Some people like they like their frills, so the frill seekers, go mountain climbing, kayaking, Um, so whatever rocks your boat, really. And people would say, as long as he's not, you're not offending anybody, but I don't buy into that fully. I buy into it partially, but not fully. Then they say, oh yeah, as long as you're not hurting anyone or harming anyone, go for it. Yeah. So it's just finding pleasure in the things that you do live. Some people just like to, watch a good movie or
Mm,
expand it or go to cinema or something. Which some people's definition of enjoying or of living might be strange to others. I have
yeah.
a I have a childhood friend and she lives in Wales now. We've been very close since we children. And I'm close with the whole family, with the father, the mother, and every. And she has a son now. She has a son. I say now. The boy is about 12, 13 now. Very peaceful lad, very, really nice kid. But he has a hobby and you can find him on YouTube. He's got his own channel on YouTube. And he's train spotting. I just couldn't understand it. And I used to go to him, I go, Caleb, come talk to your big uncle. What's really going on? He goes, that's what I like doing. Just typical teenagers. That's what I like doing. And I'm thinking, to me, I struggle with that a little. I struggle with that a little bit. I think I look at the child and I look at every other aspect of his life. Decent, very clever, very respectful, but that's just what he likes doing. He goes to the train station and he'll stand there and he'll say, train number 4568 just went through and he's going to this place and he's quite knowledgeable in what he does. But that's what he likes doing.
Mm.
And I said to him, I said, you're not going to become a footballer so I can get your autographs and, give me free tickets to games. Nah. So it's quite relative to, when they say, so on that angle, I would say he's not harming anyone. So go for it. But on some other ones where, well, yeah, but yeah, the best thing about life is being able to enjoy it.
Yeah, and as I said before, it sort of taps into the idea of these amazing five senses. Some say we have a sixth sense, don't they, of sort of sensing something, a vibe from somebody else. But the five physical senses, and of course, it also touches on the fact that something else that may come up a bit later here, but when you think we are flesh and blood, we're skin and bones, we are very physically made beings. Okay, we can talk as we have before about if we have a spirit, a soul, etc., etc. But we are physical, and yet everyone is unique in so many ways. We all have a different vantage point. But yeah, you say about why would somebody want to be a train spotter or anything else? But that's the point. Somehow, in this magic way that we form societies, you get a healthy amount of people wanting to do different things, feeling that they're called to do that or that that's really what they want to do. And many of them, let's face it, others cannot understand. You said that about train spotting, but I mean, I was watching the other day some of these extreme sports. There's a guy I sort of look at on Facebook called Alain Robert. He's a Frenchman. I think he's in his late 60s or early 70s. And since he was young, he has done nothing but climb rocks, and I mean
Wow.
mountains, or buildings, often illegally, and he'll post it. Someone films him, and he posts these pictures. Which, when you look at them, I mean, I'm sort of spellbound because it
Hmm.
makes me feel adrenalized, but in that vertigo sense. Oh my God, because he's literally climbing up sort of smooth buildings, really, with his bag of powder for his hands and his soft shoes. And you just feel that one day he's going to come down. I mean, some of his videos are on the sides of sort of rock formations in Yosemite Park, for example, in the USA. And they're
Mm,
so dangerous. And in times past, if you go back maybe 20 years or a bit more, most climbers, most rock climbers used ropes and they hammer the old safety bits in and they climb up the ropes, which made it much safer, obviously. But then they gradually developed this generation of what they call free climbers, free climbing, free soloing. And the sad reality is, every year, quite a few of them die because you cannot get human perfection in the way you would approach something like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There are people who want to do things that most of us could not begin to do. As I say, free climbing is another one. People going down under the water. I mean, there's been this recent accident in the Maldives where five divers, cave divers, lost their lives, and by all accounts, some of them at least were experienced. So yeah, people want to do different things, and I think as you can probably read in various places, some want to be doctors, some teachers, some this, but we all sort of have something that we want to do or want to be or something we get interested in. So you're right. I think that's where we find out what gives us our buzz, our high in life. So the next thing, what makes you laugh?
I don't mean to promote this guy, but um, Jeanette and I, we were away at the weekend. Went to Rotherham, and we stayed in a beautiful hotel called the Hellaby House or something. Anyway, and they happen to have. This is the first time I've seen it in any hotel, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but they happen to have a free Netflix on the telly. I couldn't believe it. I just pushed the Netflix button and it came on. And selected a profile. Anyway, so there's this guy, and I'm not promoting him, but if you watch it, you're gonna love it. It's called Tom Papa. He's a comedian, and he just takes every single aspect of his life and he makes a joke about it. He make a joke about his two daughters, as they were growing up. If you watch the previous episodes or the previous episodes he's done or Netflix series as specials as they call it. He's done it over the years, and it'll tell you progressively how the children grew up and how he is now. And you can tell from the look. At one point, he had a full head of hair, and now he's going, gradually going bald. And I sat down there and I put it on, and I thought the wife would love this. Anyway, I put it on, and she just carried on talking to me. I said, "Oh, listen to this. Listen, you gotta love it." She never did. She just sat there. She just talked the whole time through it. So anyway, I got a bit frustrated. So I said, "Right, we're not watching it anymore." She said, "What is it?" I said, "Have you not been listening?" Anyway, so that makes me laugh. A good comedy, a
Mm.
really good comedy, without the swearing, without the really bad language or a really rubbish topic. So for instance, some comedians they talk about their sex life and stuff like that. I don't want to know that. But if you just like something like sort of the only person I can compare it to in British comedy is it Michael? Oh, I've forgotten his last name, but I know his first name is Michael. Is it Macintosh? No.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah, I think yes, it's I know who you mean.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think
it
is it
is.
Michael, but it Macintosh something, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't actually
he's
watch him, but I know who you mean.
yeah, but it's really
Yeah,
funny. And another one I like is Peter Kay. Is it Peter
yeah,
Kay? Yeah,
yeah.
Peter Kay. Yeah, so I love comedians like that. And a good comedy, a good stand-up comedy, I love it. And that's what
Mm.
makes me um and people watching as well. I just observe people. Uh, sometimes I just sit down there when people are having a conversation and I just listen in and I think, oh dear, I sort of analyze or profile people, not in a bad way, not in a judgmental way, but just sort of analyze them. Because some people are very, very competitive and it'll come out in what they say. They like to have the
Mm.
last word. Sometimes you see people hijacking other people's conversation and running along with it. You could start a conversation, you could start a good conversation, and guaranteed they will not let you finish that conversation. They just hijack it and run along with it. And I love that. I just love listening to people. I love listening to people. I love listening to comedy. It really makes me laugh. Yeah, so
Mm.
that's what makes me laugh.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Some comedians can be very good, and it's a tough thing, I guess, to stand up as a stand-up comic and actually say things to try and make people laugh. Partly because we all, in a way, have a different sense of humour. You said that Jeanette perhaps didn't laugh at what you were laughing at, and vice versa. So it's a very subjective thing, humour. So the best comics really do a great job in difficult circumstances. I think I may have said before, but the person who always has, in fact, he's not on so much nowadays or hasn't done many shows, but Tim Vine, you may or may not know, but to listen to him with his one-liners, there's not many people who can make me really, sort of get wet around my eyes with laughter. Some of Basil Fawlty, of course, if you watch
Oh
reruns
yeah.
of
Yeah, I've
Fawlty
seen that.
Towers, that was just incredible humour. And yeah, I think as the old saying goes, laughter is the best medicine. It's very
It
good.
is.
It's worth a bottle of pills, really, if you can laugh, like a drain, as they say. Then I think that's going to be a good physical thing for you. Okay, so that's what makes you laugh. So what makes you cry? Perhaps a better way to ask that is when you were a boy, a little boy, growing up, do you remember if you cried much? Were you told by your parents, big boys don't cry, which is what us boys were told very often. Big boys don't cry. In other words, you've got to clam up your emotions. You mustn't let anybody know what you think. So yeah, crying is a bit of a taboo for many boys and men, and even men. I mean, I think nowadays we witness far more emotions on the TV, perhaps at a football match, when the winning team they get the right result. You can see the emotion, and I experienced it at Wembley last year when Palace won the FA Cup. I mean, we were all standing there in kind of tears of happy emotion. It was the most amazing feeling, really, to have that. So, would you say either you ever reached that emotional point where you may cry or have cried, or did you as a youngster, or do you maintain the advice, big boys don't cry?
Yeah, I don't I used to as a child. I was quite in touch with my emotions when I was growing up as a child. And I would basically cry at most things. And some of those things are just nonsense things, really, because sometimes I'll cry over my dinner, like I don't want that. That vegetable doing that. And I'll be like, "Arr," and I'll cry. Um, but as I grow older, fewer things makes me cry because then I've outgrown those idiosyncrasies, or well, you still have idiosyncrasies even as an adult, but I've sort of outgrown those childish things now. I rarely cry, um, but when I see pain and suffering, really gets me. Pain and suffering. Um, I cry more over an emotional pain than I would cry over physical pain. Physical pain, I'm not saying physical pain. I'm not making light of physical pain. But what I'm saying is emotional pain gets you even more.
Mm.
It really, for me, it really, really gets me. Like um, the emotions of seeing somebody helpless. I don't like the word hopeless because you're not really hopeless until you die. But seeing somebody helpless and not being able to do anything to alleviate the pain they're going through or suffering or whatever, that's what gets me. It really gets me. And sometimes, because I have a lot of old elderly friends, and it's really painful when you lose them
Mm.
because you know they're gonna go at some point. It doesn't matter whether it's 5 years, 10 years, you know at some point they're gonna get to that stage where you know they're not gonna be there anymore. And that gets me. That really gets me. Sometimes I go and visit them and they'll say, "Oh, it won't be long now." And I'm thinking, no, don't say that, you know. So that gets me. I know. They joke about it all the time because they say, "Oh, Emmy, as soon as you get to that age, it's appointments, hospital appointments." And but I have enough hospital appointments now. So I can
Yeah,
relate with
yeah,
but yeah, that really gets me. But then what helps me is my faith. It helps me to, you know, not only understand why things like that are happening, but also understanding that it's not really the end, which we're not going to go into. But yeah, that gets me. That pain of seeing somebody
yeah,
that is close to me going. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what about? I mean, you recently got married. Congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
Again, I don't watch a lot of TikTok, but sometimes you put it on and you get a beautiful song, Can't Help Falling in Love, which they actually played at Wembley last year when Palace won the cup, and it was
Yeah.
very emotional. Um, but if you look at TikTok, sometimes you get the reel comes on and you hear that song, and then you see a bridegroom waiting, perhaps with his best man at the front of the church or wherever they're getting married. And then as soon as the bride appears, usually with her father, you can see the bridegroom's face crumples with just emotion, and that they can't stop it. It's like the football last year. You couldn't stop those tears of emotion, but of course
No.
that's crying in a different way. I mean, I guess the mechanics of that are still the same. But did
Hmm.
you get emotional when you got married like that at all?
Right.
Or you were nervous, or you just handled it as I expect you would, with aplomb, we might say.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very I did get emotional, but not to the extent of being emotionally visible. I didn't it wasn't visible on my face. I because it was a happy occasion for me.
Yeah,
I know there is something called tears of joy. But it was more of the whole planning process, the whole stress with it, having to arrange both the Kingdom Hall and the venue. And I thought, oh, I've got to get through this. I've got to get through this somehow. And on that day, it was like a sigh of relief. I heaved a sigh of relief because I thought, okay, this is the day, and it whatever happens
yeah,
it's done, you know. So I didn't. I don't know. I think I must have had some things that blocked that for me. It just blocked it, and I didn't really get the songs that would push me to that limit or would push me to getting to that
mm,
stage where I'm emotionally visible. My emotions are visible. Um, it was hijacked by the likes of Gladys.
was it?
Gladys, yeah, there was a lot of bridesmaids. I didn't expect it. It was about 20 just dancing and they were playing and they chose their own song. And even the bride and groom first dance song was chosen by Jeanette. So I thought, okay. So I didn't if I'd chosen my own song, it would have been song that I could relate to that might have brought me to that extent where, I'm visibly. But yeah, no, I didn't. I don't know what happened. Most people
So
do.
what was your what song did Jeanette choose for your first dance then?
Oh, I think it was where and I'll be loving you always.
I
I'll be
think
loving.
that's fight the good fight, isn't it? No, no, it's not fight the good fight. I'll be loving you always. No, I don't know that.
Yeah, I
Not
think
by
it
the way
was.
you sang it, anyway.
Yeah,
But
it must have been. Thanks. I take that as a compliment. Eh, I think it was Judge Benz, not Judge Benson, Judge Michael or Michael Judge,
right, yeah,
and another
George
singer.
Michael, yeah.
Yeah, Judge Michael. Yeah, Judge Michael and another singer. Yeah, it's a good song, but it wasn't my choice. And none of the songs that was played on the day was my choice. So yeah, so
Did
I
you
didn't
not?
get.
Did you not say, "Well, I want to choose at least one of the songs"? You were happy to let
I
other
did.
people do
I did choose one of the. I did choose at least five of the songs, but it never made it to the playlist.
it?
It never did.
Didn't
It
make
did
it.
it. And it never did. And I don't hold anybody responsible for that apart from Gladys's husband called Alex. He was the DJ.
Yeah.
So he did. He just. I don't know. I don't know if Janet gave him some songs to play or his wife, or they just thought, this is what's we're just gonna take over. So that's what happened. By the way, I still haven't sent you any of the videos. I've still got them. I
No,
haven't
you
got the.
didn't. No.
I know I haven't got that. I don't have the edited versions yet. So I'm just gonna send you
All right.
uh, the rough versions. I'll send it through a file sharing.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Excellent.
So yeah.
I shall look
Sorry.
forward to
Yeah.
receiving it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The next thing is, do you sometimes say something you really regret saying? Now, an example, if you remember the film Dirty Dancing, which I think was in the late 80s or early 90s, very good film. Did you ever see that film, Dirty Dancing?
Is it with Patrick
Patrick Swayze, wasn't it?
Swayze?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey
Yeah.
was his opposite actress. But at one scene in that, she obviously is very attracted to him. He's this wild dancer type on the holiday um, place where they were staying for the summer.
Yeah.
And anyway, so one day she's trying to find ways to go in to see him where he's practicing with all his dancers. So she goes with somebody else, and this other person says, "Look, carry these. We'll take these big watermelons in." So anyway, long story short, she goes in, and Patrick sees her when he stops his dancing practice, and all the others stop as well. And he says, well, what do you want? He wasn't nasty, but he just said, "What do you want?" And she said, "Oh, I carried a watermelon." And things carried on, and she sort of looked and thought, "God," I said, "I carried a watermelon." She couldn't believe she'd said something so kind of inappropriate or looking stupid. Now, would you say, I mean, I guess we all do that sometimes. It's no good just saying, "Would you say you've done that?" But are you a person who, for example, if you're in a conversation with somebody or with a group of people and there comes a bit of a gap, are you a person who likes to fill that gap? Because that's when it's easiest to say something you think. I mean, I've done it probably quite a few times. Why the heck do you want to be buried on under the floor? Why did I say that?
Yeah.
That sounded so
Yeah.
stupid. Have you ever
Yeah.
done that? Would you say?
Yeah, I have. I have on more than one occasion actually, where I've said I've said something you know that I don't intend to say or I didn't intend to say, and it's come out the wrong way. Um, Mostly it's when I'm trying to make the conversation lively. So I often I don't tell good jokes. I often try to tell a joke. I don't know why I do it.
Timing, it's all about timing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and it just goes awfully wrong. Now, if the one that the most recent one was one from time to time we would have a what they call a congregation do where we just hire a hall and we just get the sound system in, get some food in. Usually, you'd have to patronize the venue by buying your own drinks, so they can
Right.
make money. But you're allowed to bring food in. There's a venue that we use, very local to the congregation anyway, and I couldn't say that I've had a drink because I know I always have a shandy, half pints and a shandy, half pint of a shandy, and that's all I've had that night. It was coming to the end of the night, and there was another friend's wife, and I went to her, and she brought her friend to the do. She invited her friend, which I don't know. I've never met her before, and I went to her friend, and I said, oh. I said, I've never seen your face before. And she said, oh, no, I'm Dorcas's friend. Oh, you're Dorcas's friend. I said, oh, she said, why? And I said, I won't be friends with her. It was a joke.
It was a joke, but probably badly told.
It wasn't badly told. And I don't have a problem with Dorcas. She's quite nice. And Dorcas overheard it and she said, what did you say? You're, I said, she's friends with you. I said, oh, what? And and the whole night, I spent the whole night after I've said that joke, even though after I've said it, I immediately said it was a joke.
Yeah.
But then the next day, I actually rang her up and apologized. And she said, what are you apologizing about? I said, well, I told a really stupid joke, didn't I? And she said, I knew it was a joke. I said, really? I said, oh my days. I said, I know it's a joke. I said, but the way it came out. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. She said, I know you. I said, you wouldn't. She said, you wouldn't say bad things about me. I said, no, I wouldn't. I said, "And why should I?" And but I still feel guilty about the
Mm.
joke. So now I tend to not tell jokes very much.
I don't blame you. But on thinking about things that you decide, how
Right.
many how many thoughts would you say, or do you think we average on humans average on a daily basis? How many thoughts do you think you and I, on average, will have today?
Uh, on average, how many thoughts have I had this morning? I've had the thoughts about the dream. I've had the thoughts about, right. So I would say for me, and I could be horribly wrong, but I'd say 50 thoughts in a day.
50?
Yeah,
You
five
say
zero.
50, 50.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what the scientists tell us. Much depends on the definition of a thought, but obviously it's a new thing that's entered our heads, and we don't really get too much control on that. It's between 6,000 and 70,000 every day. Now,
Wow.
in fact, a more recent study said there are 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. Some estimates, it says here, differ, such as those from the Laboratory of Neuroimaging, but they actually suggest that the thought generates about 48.6 thoughts per minute, which amounts to roughly 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. I mean, we can't imagine that. We can't really get our heads around that, can we? Okay, my next question then would be, do you ever get, or do you sometimes get unwanted thoughts entering your mind, your brain, which you haven't forbidden, you haven't wanted to think about. There's something suddenly come into your mind that is an unwanted thought. Maybe it's a fear. Maybe you suddenly thought you imagined you were getting on an aeroplane. I know you're frightened of flying, but do you
Mm.
ever get what we would say is unwanted thoughts?
Yeah, I think everybody does.
Yeah.
I think every human being does have unwanted thoughts in their heads. And I'm definitely one of those who would say I get loads. I actually fight a lot of negative thoughts every day. And I'm not saying,
That was my next question. Do you get negative
yeah,
thoughts?
I do. I do fight a lot of negative thoughts in my head. And I'm not even gonna say every day. I'm gonna say like every hour. There's a negative thought in my head about something either going wrong or me doing something really, really out of character. And it doesn't alarm me. It really does not alarm me because I know that the thought process of every human is flawed. And so it doesn't alarm me. I think when you have those thoughts, what you don't want is allowing those thoughts to linger. You don't want it
Mm,
lingering because that's where the problem is. You will get those thoughts, but don't allow it to linger because if it lingers, there's the chances that you might act on it or you might start to deliberate on it and desire
yeah.
whatever those thoughts are. And they're not nice thoughts, but
Are you
they're there.
someone, yeah, are you someone who believes in, if you like, the power of positive thinking, that it's much better to think positively? I mean, just a good phrase I've long remembered is those who think they can and those who think they can't are both right. And I think that's very powerful, that phrase, because it's saying that so much depends if we want to achieve something or do something, whatever. So much depends on our approach to it. If we think we can do it, then that's halfway there, really, and the opposite is true as well. So would you
Mm.
say you try to be of positive mind much of the time?
It's impossible to be or try to be of a positive mind much of the time. I think it's more, it's like the only, well, it might not be the right way to describe it, but the way that I would describe it is you're swimming against the tide. That's how it is. You, you
Mm,
know, the current or swimming against a really powerful current. The current, the current that is negative is what's trying to pull you. And what's positive is either what you're grabbing onto or the strength that you're trying to build from within yourself. Because the negative thoughts is what is readily there. It's readily
yeah,
available. The negative thoughts is telling you stay in bed 2 hours, more. It's telling you go to that fridge, get that tub of ice cream, and eat as much as you eat as much as you like.
you said that with feeling, Kaz, didn't you?
It's telling you
Yeah.
get that tub of peanut butter and just stick a spoon in it. Just eat as much as you can, or eat as much as you want. Or, go to the cake shop and get as much cake as you want and just enjoy yourself. That is what's present with you constantly. It's there with you constantly. Now, what's not there with you or what you've got to build is saying to yourself, yeah, I know it'd be nice. Yeah, I know it tastes good. Yeah, I know it's my favorite. Yeah, I love it.
Mm.
But I'm not having any more of it. That's
Yeah,
it.
sensible stuff. I mean, it all comes from the brain, doesn't it? This
It
£3,
does.
there's a thing here which says your brain is a £3 universe that processes 70,000 thoughts each day using 100 billion neurons that connect to more than 500 trillion points through synapses that travel 300 miles an hour, which is,
Wow.
again, we just think of the brain in that way, don't we? Um,
Yeah.
it's everything that we are, really. We can't even look at a brain and think, wow, how does that do all the things it does? It can remember stuff from a long time ago. It can plan. It can appreciate all the things it does. And to think our brains generate thoughts. We don't, as I say, we don't often ask for them. If we're working on something, then the thoughts will follow what we're doing. But we
Mm,
do sometimes get unbidden thoughts, don't we? Things that suddenly zoom in, and some people say, "Yeah, I've got a good connection with that person. It might be my partner, it might be a relative, and
mm,
we both go to say the same thing at the same time, and
mm,
all that sort of stuff." But the brain is just a remarkable organ that does all this stuff for us and makes decisions, um, you know, really on our behalf. Something I would ask you if you do. Do you ever self sabotage? Do you think your brain almost sabotages what you would prefer to do?
that's on a daily basis. It just
Really?
does. Yeah, it doesn't need an
Yeah.
incentive to do it. It just it just enjoys doing it, my brain.
Well, give me an example then. Why how would that be?
Well, there are things that all right, so there might be a piece of work that I could do in an hour. So an hour max, and that's being generous with my time, right? So I'll sit down there and I'll do it for an hour. And what do? I get this piece of work and I do it the wrong way around. And it takes me 5 hours. And I'm thinking,
I think we're straying into what we might call intelligence there, cuz, or lack thereof.
I think it's a lack
Not
of
to
it.
not to be not to be offensive.
So it's all the time, all the time. I set off to do something. I think in my head, I know what I'm doing. I set off to do it. And halfway through, I'm laughing at myself. I'm actually sat down there and going, you've done it again, out yet.
Yeah, well, that's a good example, though, of self-sabotage. It's
It
almost
is,
like
yeah.
our brains are a separate entity from us, isn't it? And
Yeah.
sometimes that does seem to be the case. So there we are. Thank you for your answers to all of those questions. There's quite a few more, which we will continue some other time.
Yeah.
But yeah, some very good answers, if I may say, from you. Well
Yeah.
done.
And yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for bringing out my flaws.
No, I wasn't trying to do that, cuz you did that yourself.
Self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage, absolutely.
That's another good example of that. Right, so this is all we've got time for on the Alien Spaceship. Join us again next week. I've been Emmy Hickins, and he calls me Cos.
I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
It's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me too. See you next time. Well done.
Uh,
You did
that was a
you
good.
did good. Will we get the AI summary again, do you think? That was very good last
Yes,
week. That's
yes.
excellent.
We will get the AI summary. Now
Yeah.
I don't know if I've set it to send it to you as well, but
Well, I got it last week, but yeah, do that,
yeah,
please.
yeah. If you don't get it, just
I'll let
shoot
you
us a
know.
message, and
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
I'll so let me just
Well, I'm just
stop.
going to sign out and then I'll be back.
Right, okay, yeah, that's good.
All right.
Yeah, right. So here's the camera video. Oh. Ba-ba-da. Ba, 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 ba. Oh yeah. Let me set this up. Mm, mm, mm. Mm.
There we go.
Hello, Tony.
Right, Trevor, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm
You
good.
okay?
Yeah.
Not sure where our man has gone. Oh, he's there. Oh, he's not there, is he? No, he'll be there in a minute.
How are you feeling today about
Yeah,
Crystal
pretty
Palace?
callous. Yeah, I mean, I should be there. I couldn't go for various reasons, unfortunately. But my son is there, and one of my granddaughters, she's there amongst our group of fans. So I'm quite envious of them. But yeah, I'll watch it on TNT. I mean, I think Palace should win. I mean, it's a daring thing to say, but
Mm.
they are at technically a higher level, I think, than most of the teams in the conference, which is why Palace started out as champ as the favourites
Yeah.
for winning it. So although there were one or two early hiccups, they never really struggled after that. So yeah, and so on balance, I think all things being equal, we've got a good chance of winning. But as with football, you can't afford to get too confident because it can just blow up in your face.